Every dad wants to give his kids a better future. But what if preparing them for adulthood isn't just about saving for college or teaching them about money? What if it's about teaching them how to think, how to take responsibility, how to trust God, how to become the kind of men and women who can thrive long after they've left home? Today, I'm joined by my friend, Stephen St. John. Steve has spent decades helping families make wise financial decisions as a financial advisor. But what impacted me most with Steve wasn't his knowledge about investing. It was about the intentional way he and his wife have invested in their sons. Steve recently became an empty nester after launching two sons into adulthood. In this conversation, we talk about raising financially responsible kids, creating meaningful milestones, surrounding your family with godly community, and what Steve hopes his sons will remember long after he's gone. I think every dad will walk away with something practical from this episode. Enjoy. Steve, thank you so much for joining today.
Well, thanks for having me. It's good to see you. Yeah.
Steve, just to give a little bit of the background of our connections over the years. You were a teacher in the school that I went to, Bob Jones Academy. You were not my teacher, but you were my brother's teacher.
Right.
We did play some basketball together.
I remember that. You were a competitive freshman. It always made me laugh.
And really didn't have some fun memories there. Later, after I graduated college, we served together as youth group leaders at Heritage Bible Church.
Yes.
We had like Von Clarkin and some other
That's right.
Like the wrestling matches at night.
Yes, we did.
Midnight.
That was insane.
High school or with high school boys.
Yeah.
So that was great.
They could call out anybody that they wanted to, and there would be a wrestling match to try to tap each other out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good times.
And then I got married and kind of time went forward and we've just reconnected over a little bit of finances, financial stuff, business stuff. And then this podcast actually brought us together a little bit. With just fatherhood. And so
let me tell you the story about that.
Okay.
One of my teammates at work, I don't know how he found it, but he found the Invested Father and he said, "Hey, you should listen to this podcast." And it was because of the guest. Well, I didn't know the guest, but I knew you as the host. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yes.
Kenny Johnson? No way.
Yeah.
So I probably texted you and asked about it. And then I started binging the show.
Well, I have respected you throughout all of our time relationship.
That calls your judgment into question.
No, I know you probably hate hearing stuff like this, but it's, I was actually recounting before I arrived today, just like your consistency and character. And, over years, I'm 38. You had a birthday recently, too.
Indeed. The big 5-0.
Big 5-0.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It went fast.
Yes. 38 went fast. So it only gets faster, right?
Probably.
But you see different people over your time, rather drift or have some, life problems or walk from the faith, all these different divorce, all these things. And what it's done for me is actually it's made me more thankful for the people in my life who are consistent and stable forces like yourself. Another thing that I've always admired about you, and I don't even know if I've shared this, but you find a way to get transparent or vulnerable or insightful intentional quickly with somebody. I can remember one of our earlier lunches, I think during youth group years, I think you invited me out to lunch and we were just talking about marriage and just different things that no one had really talked with me openly about. And I really appreciate that. You probably don't remember this.
I do not remember that.
It's just, and we served together as you.
If my wife listens to this, she's going to be very surprised. She's like,
you know what?
Yeah.
You've put yourself out there and you've shown intentionality in relationships. And I appreciate that. So thank you for being on the show.
That's super kind of you to say. If you knew everything about me, you may think differently, number one. And I guess number two, I'm trying to follow Jesus Christ. But the big thing is he's a good shepherd and he keeps his sheep. And it's his hold on me has been way better than my hold on him.
Thank you. And that is God. You're right. We just actually finished a VBS about God as our shepherd. And he's a good God.
Yeah. So we have two
Yes.
boys.
Tell me about the family status.
My younger son just moved out last Thursday. So we are
Okay.
officially empty nesters.
Okay.
He is at naval indoctrination in the Great Lakes. So he's a naval RTC uh, 4-year scholarship winner. But the big thing about Jesus being a good shepherd is I would often, when they were young in particular, struggle with anxiety about my kids. Will they come to faith? Will they be safe? And I found it harder to trust God for my children than I found it to trust God for myself. But that is our only hope. Like if Jesus isn't a good shepherd, everything I'm trying to engineer, then I don't know what my odds are. Probably not that great.
Yeah.
So
I I had forgotten it was last Thursday, so you're very fresh in the empty nest status.
fresh in the empty nest. Yeah.
That's well, just that this is really exciting for me to kind of get your take on how life is going in that way, if you don't mind sharing on some of those things.
Sure.
So we're going to touch on that. I do want to give the audience just a quick overview of your career.
Okay.
So
So
if you don't mind
yeah.
sharing that, and then
So
we're going to go ahead.
When you and I first met, and I was teaching your older brother, I was in graduate school, and I had a very strong school habit, and eventually marriage cured me of that, and I needed a job.
Okay.
And my roommate at grad school at South Carolina had told me this story of his future brother-in-law and how he entered the financial field. And I remember the night I was 14 years old, and a man talked to my dad about investing. And my dad was 49 and had a savings account and no debt, but no investments.
Okay.
And that was so pivotal in my dad's life. My dad became a do it yourself investor. He started reading and educating himself all the time. And he would
Yes.
feed me articles. So I was 14. And so he was feeding me articles from that time. So investing for me had been an avocation or a hobby. Wasn't very good at it. Didn't know a lot, but I knew enough about compounding interest, and I was enthralled with mutual funds, and I owned the S&P 500 index fund, at that point. And so I interviewed with a firm that was a top 10 firm, and they were very amenable for taking people without a finance background and kind of putting them through a training program. And so for about my first 20 years in financial planning, I worked for 3 top 10 firms and just kind of built a business. And then 3 years ago, my team and I left and went independent. So we have a financial planning practice. We're what's called a registered investment advisory group. We partner with a firm called New Edge Advisors that manages close to 100 billion in overall. But we are just here in Greenville, South Carolina. We manage about 350 million for our clients, about 200 families, and we try to help them make wise decisions. We try to help them make money, obviously, and we try to make their financial life easy and convenient.
Excellent.
That's what we do.
Perfect. I visited your downtown place there, and
Yeah,
very nice.
thank you.
Heart of downtown. Great team. I met some of your team there.
That's kind of you to say.
Um,
I'm blessed. Do have really great teammates.
yeah.
I really do.
And
One of them just had a baby,
okay.
her first one.
Okay. Growing.
Beautiful
Your
little
team is
girl.
growing.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And she's answering emails, and I'm like, oh, please, please don't.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that was just 3 years ago that you did the independent thing.
It would be 3 years in August.
Okay.
Yeah, next month. So
Was that tell me about that? Like just leap of was that like
that
a
was
thing that was built up for a while?
That was I've jumped out of an airplane,
Okay.
but that was the scariest thing I've ever done is leaving the firm that I was with. And our firm that we were employees of did a lot of things really well.
Yes.
And I don't want to say anything critical about them. They're probably the second largest wirehouse in our nation. And I owe them a lot. I learned a lot there. But ultimately, we were their employees.
Yes.
And it just felt like there was one too many people or entities present in the room.
Okay.
It's like I've got my employer, I've got myself, and I've got the client.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be me and the client.
Yeah.
And so being independent kind of allows us to do that. We control the sheet. So,
curiosity question on that. So looking back, and so we're 3 years from doing the out of the airplane.
Yes.
The fears that you had, were you thinking, man, those are stupid fears, or like, Like, some of these actually were worse than what I thought it was going to be. Or what, like, is there anything that you would be like, if you could talk to your 3-year-old self, just, or somebody that is maybe on that like risk adverse, I'm trying to get a better, either happiness at work or happiness at home. What are some maybe words of rather encouragement or challenge
Oof.
in that type of leap?
That is a really great question, and, I am wired to think about the future. I'm not always super reflective about the past.
Okay. Yeah.
I would say that if I were to do it again, I could do it so much better,
Of course.
but I would never wanna do it again.
Okay.
It was very brutal.
Okay.
Uh, we worked a lot. One of the things is we now have, like, third-party vendors who are setting up our email and setting
Okay.
up our website,
Okay.
and our email and website went down the day of our leaving.
Okay.
So, that was absolutely brutal.
I'm so
That
sorry.
after that first night, I woke up at, I think about 2:30 in the morning, and I just lay in bed until about 3:30. I just sat there thinking, "This is terrible. What have I done to my
All the
family?
worst
What have I
things.
done to my clients?" And then I was like, "I'm just gonna get in and go to work," and I will tell you, I've been kind of somewhat maybe on the verge of desperation twice in my life. I
Okay.
mean, there was that. Our younger son had a health issue in utero,
Yes.
and but God was so faithful in both those times, and things got resolved, and our team came together, and it's just like, hey, we'll just use the phones,
Okay.
and so that's what we did, and the email ended up getting resolved, and the website took a little bit of time, but, people don't care that much, or at least for us, because 'cause we're not talking with strangers.
Yeah.
They don't care about the website as much as they would to know, "Hey, can you help us?
Yeah.
Are you so why did you do this? How does this make my life better?" They don't wanna hear about how being independent is gonna make my life better.
Right.
How is this better for our
Of
clients?
course.
And this is kind of cool. We've been able to cut everybody's expenses and hire more staff. So kind of across the board, I think that's been we wanted it to be good for our clients as well as for us.
Cool.
So
Well, you've had years of experience in the business world in that way and managing relationships. So let's switch it a little
okay.
bit in regard, not switch it, but let's overlap it because you said you're a very futuristic thinker.
Yeah.
Your kids are 18 and 20. Is that right? So you have
Mhm.
successfully launched more or less.
Well, let's hope. I mean,
I mean,
I think
we're
so
seeing
far.
it now.
Yeah.
It's in progress
Yeah.
still. But give us some thoughts on. I mean, you can't give us everything on the whole journey of
Okay.
fatherhood, but maybe we could just boil it a little bit to your current stage, because I
Okay.
feel like we could go back and
Let,
maybe.
let me hit it with a running start, maybe.
Okay.
I was fortunate to have really great parents, I think, and I really look up to them. They were in Christian service. And we never had a lot, but we always had enough, and they
Yeah.
trusted God, and they loved us, and they were the same people in public that they were in the home. There wasn't like this, we have the public self and the private self, and I think we played a lot of games as
Okay.
a family, so we had fun.
Okay.
I played a lot of games with my mom, with my dad, throwing the ball. I There was a time where my dad was working 3 jobs. He was a teacher, and then he would teach at nights at Greenville Tech. And then he also did consulting for companies.
Okay.
So there was like Fluor would hire him to help their engineers write more clearly to non-engineering people. So he
Yes.
did a lot of technical writing consulting. And so I knew my dad worked hard, but he was present. Like he was at my games,
Yeah.
throw the ball in the backyard, shoot basketball, those
Yeah.
those kind of things. So
Yeah.
we had a ton of books around the house and things that I would want to read, like stories that I think boys wanted to read. So
Yeah.
I appreciate those things, and also, we kind of had to work. My parents created opportunities for me to work and earn money,
Yes.
and if I wanted to wear brand name shoes or clothes, they're like, "Hey, this is what we pay for your shoes. If you want something different, you got to save the difference." So I had like a paper out at junior high. I think that was so helpful. mowed lawns with friends. And so those were things that I didn't come up with. I had seen modeled for me, but Rebecca and my wife and I wanted those for things for our boys. So a person I love and respect, he was like, "You pay your kids to do all these chores and do things like that?" And he's like, My kids do that just because they're part of the family." And it's like, "Hey, I get that, but I wanted to create opportunities for my kids to make money, and then I also wanted them to have to spend their own money on things, and I wanted them to have to give and save their own money." So I think a lot of what I'm trying to do as a dad is what I've seen modeled to me by my dad,
Yeah. That
or
ma
read at books, or being involved in local church. I think that's been huge in my life. And like this morning before we met, 6:30, I was at breakfast with our men's group, and certain of us have been meeting together for like 9 years and super consistent from like June of 2020 and COVID.
Okay.
Same people every single Wednesday because we just felt so isolated.
Yes.
And there's a lot of cross pollination when you're hanging around with, I think people are getting cross pollinated with good ideas from your podcast. You have on some dad who drops a nugget of truth from their experience,
Yes.
and somebody takes that idea, they try to implement that. Maybe they're in a small group and they're talking to somebody
Yes.
about that. And so that's what being part of, I think, a community of men, or a Christian community
Yes.
in particular, we're trying to do that. Kenny, I lost track of the question.
No, it's okay.
Remind me. I just kind of
We were
rambled. What was the
no, it's
question?
okay. We're talking about your dad.
Yeah.
And the example that, he set for you was kind of
Yeah.
easy, sounds like, to like, hey, this is what was modeled to me. We're gonna instill some of these things as we raise our kids as well.
Yeah.
And then just that idea of, community a little bit of like, I'm borrowing ideas and things that we can talk about and see.
Mhm.
We talked about, you mentioned like paying your kids and instilling sort of that money aspect from,
Yes.
buying your own nice shoes and stuff.
Yeah.
And I actually that's a great thing to share because I'm right now currently in the
Yeah.
I'm
Most
thinking,
perfect age.
Moses is 9.
Yeah.
He's starting to mow. We have this battery powered mower,
Mhm.
very light and doesn't even adjust height. It like barely adjusts height. We found it
Yeah.
at one of our flips, so it was free. So I can really pay for
Nice.
it.
Even better.
But he's mowing my lawn and he's mowing Mimi's lawn, who's his grandma, my mother-in-law up the street.
Bring him over here. I'll put him to work.
So
Okay.
he gets really tired fast. So we're also working
Sure.
on grip, but he's sweating and he is
So-
getting
yeah.
paid from Mimi. I also am paying him, but there was a debate in my mind of like, do I pay him for this? But we were paying $50 a cut from my
Someone
guy,
else. Yeah.
and it's like,
Who would you rather pay?
well, yeah, and I'm not paying him 50, but I think it is,
Yeah.
and I think it's win-wins, really.
It absolutely is.
So I'm excited about this, and of course now I'm thinking,
Okay.
what else can he do for me?
Yeah.
There's the wheels of like, okay, he's getting old enough, strong enough to do maybe some other things I pay for.
Absolutely.
So we're in that stage right now.
Yeah. And his productivity and his energy will actually bless you. You're saving a little bit of money.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with him earning some money, enjoying some fruit from his labors, right? A laborer
The Lego
is worthy.
fruits, by the way.
Yeah.
Lots of Legos.
But a laborer is worthy of his hire. Nothing wrong with paying people. In fact, it's not generous not to value people's work and pay them for it. And then, Kenny, you need to get him set up with a brokerage account. He needs to start
You're
sending
right.
money
No,
to work. Let that money work for him
I
while he's
know.
sleeping.
I know we're going on that road. It's
Yeah.
an exciting time.
I went to church with a guy named Will Hines.
Okay.
And Will's a financial planner now,
Okay.
too. I don't think he was at that time, but he told me about some things that his dad did.
Okay.
And I was like, boy, golly, that guy is so intentional. I was really smart. I don't remember his dad's name, but he's a big commercial realtor and commercial property investor around here.
Yeah.
And but he did things, and I actually literally tried to imitate exactly what Will had told me.
Yes.
So my next door neighbor's dad is a real farmer, and so he said that he would sell us some calves. So when my boys were young, they had saved up money from work, and I made them take their own money in cash and count it out to that farmer and buy calves from them. And then they would come to our little farm that we live on. They would just eat grass. They had the responsibility of giving them water. And then, we'd take them to slaughter at, in the fall, would buy the calves in the spring when they were weaned.
Yeah.
So they no longer needed their moms. And they would be about 500 pounds. And by the time the late fall would roll around, they'd be like 850 pounds. So they're kind of small normally, but we would take them. They're all grass fed, take them to slaughter, and then they would kind of sell the meat for. So they learned about the expenses. You had the expense of the calf,
Yeah.
you have the expense of the processing, how much you're going to have to sell ground beef for, how much you're going to have to sell roasts for, how much you're going to
Yes.
have to sell steaks for. And so, but that was their money.
And this was modeled from your friend Will Hines had talked about this.
Yeah,
And you're like, we're gonna do that. Like,
yeah,
I'm taking that and we're doing it.
absolutely.
And your kids did that.
Yeah,
And they made money, they learned about it, and
that's right. And then they have brokerage accounts.
love it.
And we don't think about stocks as a symbol that the price changes and it's just some vehicle for trading.
Yeah.
That's a fractional share in a business.
Yes. Got it.
So when we go to QT and the line is long and ice cream inside is good and cheap and the bathrooms are clean, we go, man, I wish I owned some of that business. But you can't buy QT because it's private. But we go to Costco. Man, I wish that parking lot is packed.
Yeah.
Don't you wish you owned some of this business?
Yes.
Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A, I'll be a private. But yeah.
I think about that every time, they're being like, man, they're right.
Right? Wouldn't you like to own some?
There we go. No, that's really cool. And was there anything else that you could say, like the Will Hines story? Is there anything else that you were like, this is another one I stole? Like one that I have stolen from the show was a guy that does, it was Nick Stromwell, and he talked about high-low buffalo. Ever heard of high-low buffalo?
I have.
See, yes. I've never heard of high-low buffalo. And I was like, what is high-low buffalo? You talk to your kids and you say, what was the high of your day? What was the low of your day? And what was the buffalo of your day? What's buffalo? It's kind of random, crazy, whatever they want to say kind of thing. Yeah. So we have been doing that for like 2 or 3 years now. And it's like very important that Moses always, like, before we go to bed, he's like, where's your high-low buffalo? So that's one thing.
So Moses is asking you.
Moses is like, he's the one that, he also likes to, procrastinate and wants to, he wants to talk as much as he can before we, say good night.
Oh, right.
So it's one of those things. It's like, 2 more minutes, kind of deal.
Yeah.
But anything that has been a thing that you guys have carried out as either a family or as a dad, that a tradition or something else that stands out as something you guys have done?
We have kind of been fortunate and gotten a lot of cross pollination. So I'm not really good at outdoorsy things, but I've had friends who are going like, "Hey, I'm going to go camping. They've got some kids. You want to?" And I'll piggyback with them. Yes. They've got the equipment and stuff like that. We had a friend who in North Carolina, you don't need a license to fish on the 4th of July, and so he's got boys that are each a year older than my 2 boys, but we go to church together. It's like, man, if we're going to go fishing, you want to go? Absolutely. That'd be great. So I've been able to kind of piggyback off these other guys that are good at things that I'm not.
Yeah. And that idea of tribe, by the way, is something I'm just now starting, not to say just now, but like intentionally putting other dads in the room with my son or in the campground with my son, and trying to speak into their kids' lives and have another dad speaking into my son's life. I see huge value in that. And just like you're saying the word piggyback, but I think that only benefits our kids to have. I mean, we got to make sure our values are aligned. But I don't think there's anything wrong with piggybacking and sharing other dads and tribe stuff.
I have a friend who asked me, and I'm going to butcher the title, and I don't remember the author. He said something. Have you ever read this book of raising a modern day knight or a Christian knight or something like that? And I said, no, I've never even heard of it. And he's like, it's a great book. So I ordered it and read it. And, there's a lot of stuff in there that we didn't do. But a couple of things that he talked about that we did take was trying to do some memorial type things when you hit a milestone. Mm-hmm. So when my sons turned 13, which I tried to do a special trip, just father and son with them. And it just so happened that the school that they went to, they studied British literature and British history that 8th grade year. And so that summer, I took them to England. So it's just my son and me.
Yeah.
And we got to spend about a week. We got to go see some of the things that they read about.
Yeah.
I love British literature and British history.
Yes.
So we go see the Tower of London and learn about the stories of the people who were captive there.
Yeah.
go see Westminster Abbey and see where all the famous people are buried, the authors and Poets Corner and things like
Yeah.
that. We gotta climb the stairs at St. Paul's Cathedral and stand on this dome
Yeah.
that has 365 stairs, one for every day of the year, and you, like, look out over the city and just do some fun things and go to Windsor Castle and Buckingham Palace. Just,
Yeah.
those kind of things, but it was a real just doing something that memorialized that. We also would do, like, a family dinner and invited all the guys. Like, we went to just rented a cabin in, like, Maggie Valley, grilled steaks, and just I'm the youngest in my family, and my kids are the youngest of all the siblings. So they
Okay.
have 11 cousins.
Okay.
And so all the male cousins, all the male uncles, my dad came and would say, "Hey, tell us one thing you wish you had known as a teenager. Tell us one thing that, gives one challenge," or something like that. Yeah, I think they were good
That's
experiences.
awesome.
And then we
And
did the same thing as, like, when they turned 18, and that's kind of like, "Hey, you graduate from high school. This is kind of like commemorates, hey, becoming a man and, rewarding this and
yeah.
looking to the future." And those trips we did with some of another dad, Kenworth Reeves,
Yes. Yes.
and he has a son that's each of my kids' age.
Okay.
So one time, when our older son graduated, we went and we hiked to Machu Picchu in Peru. And it was just a fantastic experience, and
Wow.
Kenworth was super kind. He took a picture of me way down sitting in this trail with David from a distance. We didn't know that it was there, but I have this memory and this photo of me sitting with my son on a Sunday morning, just talking about nature and God and what 1,000 years means, because that's when, the Incas, I think, were building this like 600 years ago. So, and just it's
That's
the passage of
awesome.
time. Yeah, there was super great, super, super great experiences. I didn't come up with that idea. I just stole it, and it was a buddy who directed me to that resource.
Yeah.
And
The power milestones and moments, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a good succinct way to talk about it.
No, that's so good for me now. And it's like, how do you maybe you could kind of mark your year? Like, what was this year about? But then you're talking like a little bit like just their childhood, like, coming of age, kind of
Hmm.
stuff, coming to manhood. And I mentioned on the show before that book, Intentional Father, kind of similar things. I don't know if you've heard
Yes,
that book or read that book.
I own it and have not read it,
Okay.
which is
It's
on
one of
me.
those, like, you can read it in your group for those that, are curious about being a little more intentional, which is vast theme of the show.
Yeah.
But that's a great resource. But even this book of the knighthood kind of thing.
Let's see. You're doing a 3 gen
Yes,
ministry with kids. Is that right?
yes. So Ed Sweeney, who I just had on the show
Oh, really?
maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago, I think. But he started this 3 Gen Ministries, or was one of the founders,
Hmm.
and he has a group called Real Man. And
Yes, that's it.
that's
That's
right. We
it.
were talking a little about that at breakfast
Yes.
one time. So yes, he is a local resource for
Yes.
anyone in the Greenville, South Carolina
Great.
area. But he's got a curriculum, field guide for dads, field notes for kids, and it's kind of like 100 things to know,
Okay.
how to do, build a fire,
Oh, yeah,
change the
fantastic.
oil kind of
Yes,
stuff.
yes, that real
Life
tangible.
things, say just things that
Yes.
men should, at least be
Mm.
exposed to. Maybe not to do them exactly, but
Man, that's so good.
that kind of stuff.
I'm gonna butcher this, but one of the leaders at our church said something along these lines that arrogance tends to come from, arrogance is super common, and it often comes from, being told that you're good and might be doing well academically, but you don't really have practical knowledge. And a lot of times you come across these kids and they're just like, well, what are you proud about? They don't really have real practical skills or knowledge, or they might be good at sports, or they might be making good grades, but what can they actually do?
Yes.
But he was talking about, like, a lot of times people who are very competent are also very humble. And like, competence oftentimes comes from knowing how to do real things. And it's just and you see how hard it is, and you kind of mess up a lot, and it just has a kind of that work where
Yes.
you learning real life skills kind of tends to make you humble, but it also makes you competent, but it
Yeah.
has this distinguishing thing of like being confident without being arrogant.
Yes.
And I thought that's so good. And just another point about Ed Sweeney, I don't really know Ed, but one of his teammates is a guy named Travis Runyon.
Yes.
And Travis is great. He's a big time initiator and activator. And I went to church with him, and he has cross pollinated a lot of stuff in my life. So he's the guy that took my kids and me fishing on
Got it.
July 4th
Got it.
and we caught 4 trout, cleaned them in the stream
Yeah.
and made a fire and cooked them in the coals. And like Travis knew how to do all that, and we were learning how to do that. And it was just the best fish I've ever had in my life. And
Yeah.
Travis was really, we were meeting at his porch in COVID. We're like, hey, we're going to go, we're tired of being isolated. We're just going to go meet outside on a porch. And so he would do a lot of these studies and got a lot of stuff going. So I mean,
Cool.
it's a real, and I know he's real active in Real Man. And have you ever talked about that acronym REAL?
Yes.
Okay.
I've seen it.
Okay.
Do you know, can you name them?
I think so. I think the R has to do with rejecting passivity.
Yes.
Right. And the E has to do with, hey, God is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Expect God's reward.
Okay.
The L has to do with like leading courageously.
Yes.
What is the A? Accepting responsibility.
It
A
is.
is like accept responsibility.
Yeah.
So don't be passive, accept responsibility. And
Enjoy and lead.
yeah, so I was really influenced by that acronym.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of men's Bible studies at our church, and they would kind of pattern things after that.
Yeah.
And one of the things I would tell my boys is, hey, what is your minimum standard for a good day? What's a minimum standard for a good day? And it's kind of something
That's
that
a
we
great
would
question.
talk about. But I was like, okay, there's so much stuff out there, and we have so little ability, right? But there's so much out there, and I was like, hey, if you can meet with God, that's something. That's part of it. Can you build somebody else up? A lot of communication tears people down. Can you build somebody up, right? Can you make your environment better? Do something to make your environment better. Pick up trash, come home, mow the lawn, edge, weed eat, and then work on yourself. Do something to work on yourself. Lift weights, read a book, something. I mean, if you do a little bit of that over time, that's just going to compound. And I think that's a pretty good standard. That's like a minimum standard for a good day.
I love that because you can have a lot of days that are drift or was it a good day? What made it a good day? I mean, it was bad. We were sick, whatever. But to have some little notches, maybe KPIs here and there.
Yeah.
Did you meet with God?
Yeah.
Did you help your environment? Did you build someone up with your speech?
Yeah.
I think that's actually because we have a little sister at home. And that seems to be one of the big struggles right now. And then yourself,
Yeah, absolutely.
whether that be maybe intellectual or physical.
Yes.
Cool. Love it.
Well, it's hard to go back to a particular time and be like, oh yeah, I can't tell you what I ate 2 weeks ago.
Right. Exactly.
But it's part of you. It's building up. Did it nourish you at that time? And this is just something like that. Just little things that will compound over time.
Yes. I wanted to ask about, and actually your wife spurred this idea. So
Okay.
this is from her a little bit.
Okay.
But you have spent a lot of time getting your kids ready for college
Okay.
and the maybe financial side of it.
Yeah.
From what it sounds like, you're an expert in the room on preparing your kids for financially funding maybe their own college thing.
I have some thoughts. I don't know if
I might have oversaid it.
Well, we're not going to know for like 20 years.
That's true. It's happening live.
It's happening.
So we're in the live stage of your 20-year-old. He's in college. He's been in college for.
He's finished 2 years.
He's finished 2 years,
and he's a rising junior at South Carolina.
Okay, still standing. He's not pulling his hair out and quitting.
No,
and the funds are rather happening, or he's building up some type of debt, but he's in college.
Yeah.
And your kids also, and I know I'm cutting you off because I wanted to set you up to just go.
Okay.
But the scholarships, the work to get there.
Okay.
You were, how did you push them in that way? So, and maybe there are things that you could say, I regret doing this, but it's still happening live. So we don't know how it's going to turn out, but give us your spill on how does a dad who's, trying to prepare the best they can for their kids specifically to go to college?
So my kids went to this school called Veritas in Greenville, South Carolina. Super blessed. It's a Christian classical school. Uh, we had a guidance counselor named Casey Lane, and she started meeting with families in ninth grade.
Okay.
So I had thought more about funding mechanisms prior to that, but I hadn't really thought about the cost or realistically looked at what it would cost my kids or even she gave us some book recommendations. I probably read 4 to 6 books on that, and I would find I'd read the footnotes, and that would lead me to another book, and some good ones were The Price You'll Pay for College. I thought that was a pretty good one, and Who Gets In and Why was another, I think, very good book. I have seen just personally, anecdotally, a lot of inequity in families around college. So I'll give you an example. Imagine this situation hypothetically. Imagine you have 2 kids who go to an in-state school and their state has a lottery. And so if you have decent grades, be kind of average, you can get some extra money and you go in state, and in state is way cheaper than out of state. And then your third child wants to go out of state. And so her cost is 3 times what the kids who went in state is. And the parents just write the blank check, hey, we'll cover your college. Well, if one person spends $220,000 and the other one spends, over time, $60,000, how is that equitable? It seems kind of like a ripoff. I have a good friend right now whose daughter, his last child, is gonna go to UCLA. Beautiful school, beautiful campus, great family, great kid, but that's gonna be 90,000 a year. First 2 kids went to Clemson, in-state, super smart, got some scholarships. What do you do if one of your kids doesn't go to college? And so you're spending a lot of money on the other ones and one doesn't
Yes.
go. So does that person just out?
Yeah. Right.
So those were some of the challenges and
Because
backgrounds.
you're saying, these kids might resent us because, like, hey, you're paying their school over here. I did this, and
I
it's
don't
not
know that
fair.
the kids will resent it, but it's just like it just felt inequitable to me
Okay.
that way. I didn't think that was super fair. Like the cost at Presbyterian College, a small private liberal arts in Clinton, is twice what going to Clemson would be. Or if you go to Furman, that's like 75 grand a year. If you go to Clemson, it's like full and you pay everything. It's like $34,000 a year. So that's more than 2 times more expensive. So there was the cost. There's also the value issue to me. I had the chance to go to grad school out of state, but it was 3 times more expensive than going to South Carolina. So, you know, the other school was a little bit more prestigious, but did I really want all that debt? So I didn't. So I ended up going to in-state, and so those were just some of the things in my mind. Rebecca and I talked for a long time, and every everything has an opportunity cost. Everything has a trade-off. So we don't know that it was right, but what we decided was that we came up with what we thought was a reasonable cost for college. And it was basically just under what someone in state would pay. Because we want our kids to have skin in the game. If it costs you something, you're going to value it more. Now, you don't have to pay that in hard dollars. You could pay that by working hard and getting some scholarships.
Mhm.
So we came up with a dollar amount and said, this is what we think is a reasonable cost to pay for college. This is what we're going to give you.
Yes.
We have veto power over the school. We have veto power over the course of study, and we have veto power over your grade point average. So if you get in there and you're goofing off and you have a D plus, doesn't mean that, the money's coming next year.
Got it.
So we don't pay the school. We've paid our kids, and then they have to go get their apartment lease.
Okay.
They have to pay for the bills.
Utilities or
I don't
whatever.
I don't have access to my kids'
Meal
bills.
plan,
That's
all the
exactly right.
things.
That's exactly right. So when my older son he was really going between South Carolina and Clemson, I had created spreadsheets. I really wanted to show them to him because the offers were a little bit different, and he wouldn't look at them.
Look out.
He created his own.
Okay.
He created his own, and he actually took his spreadsheet to Clemson and met with one of the admissions counselors and said, like, "Hey, this is what South Carolina's offering me." It's like, why, why am I getting less from you all? And they actually came up on their offer. They didn't match South Carolina. So he ended up going to South Carolina. But I thought like, hey, that skill in analyzing that and really bearing the weight of these costs, and he has something to gain. If he spends more than our budget, it's on him. If he spends less, he gets to keep the difference. That was kind of our pitch to them. And so I think and he told a story about how nervous he was and he got super dry mouth and the guy noticed because he was stammering and stuttering all over himself. He said, "Hey, just take a minute, slow down. All right. Now tell me again." And he just kind of calmed himself and went through it. And he was like, "Yeah, that doesn't seem right." He's like, "Well, we'll get back to you. Let me talk to the people." And they came back up like $10,000 over 4 years was bettered their offer. So I thought that was very valuable skill that he has actually been in a negotiation at
Yes.
18 instead of me going and trying to do that. And the fact that he did that,
Yeah.
I think it was very valuable.
Cool.
The downside of this is maybe our kids have focused too much on money,
Okay.
maybe instead of
Okay.
like the value of the education or the program.
Yeah. I'm the same way, by the way, in regards to like wired. Like, I think ROI is very important for you.
Yes,
ROI,
yes,
return on
yes,
investment.
absolutely.
What am I getting from this?
Yes.
But I mean, there is more than money.
Mhm.
You were comparing apples to apples, or trying with these two
Yeah.
colleges. So give me, have you experienced with your kids? Cause we're getting into like the lawn mowing and
Okay.
hey, you can make money doing this and we can, buy these Legos doing this kind of stuff. I know it's
Yeah.
on a 9-year-old scale, but as they get older and that focus of money and providing financially becomes more of a
Mm.
hot topic, getting married, all these life things are happening. Um, anything that, and I would love to hear, if you don't mind, some failures that you think
Okay.
may have happened, but successes as well. I mean, it's not all just anything that you could share in the way you're wired and that you have raised your kids with. I know we're talking about college interviews and stuff, but like anything else that's been a money
Mm.
focus that has been good or bad with fatherhood.
I'm sure there are blind spots. We probably need Rebecca in here to shed some light on this. The younger son is not particularly concerned with money at all.
Okay.
He's not really motivated by it. He's not really interested in investments. Like, this is the thing. It's like, hey, I'm going to make an appointment for you at the bank. We're going to change your account. It's a uniform gift to minor's account because you're not 18. He turned 18 this month. We're going to go there. They're going to change it into your, we're going to get you a credit card with a low balance. So we're like doing these things. So,
Do all the things.
that's right. So now the responsibility is coming to him. And now I'm saying like, hey, I'm not investing for you. You need to do this. If you want to ask me, I'll give you some advice. So he's not particularly motivated by that. He is, for about the last 4 years, he has really had this idea that he wants to serve his country.
Yeah.
So he's really focused on the military. This is probably terrible. You think I'm a horrible person. His mother and I have probably tried to talk him out of it, or which is bad. Initially, I think we were trying to talk him out of it, but
Well, you're poking holes. That's what I'd say.
Yeah.
You're poking holes in it, and seeing if it
Yeah.
still floats. This is a big decision.
maybe we've been overbearing,
Okay.
and it's like, oh, that doesn't match up with my plans for your life.
Okay.
There's probably some of that.
Okay.
So, but we eventually have kind of recognized that, okay, he feels like this is sort of calling type level.
Okay.
And so, it is his life. And so that is really what he wants to do. And I struggle with focus.
Mm-hmm.
My younger son doesn't. This
Okay.
is what he wants to do.
Okay.
Like he would lift weights in the morning and run at night. He started to be really focused on fitness about this past year. And he was very comfortable trying to be really great at one thing.
Yes.
He was very comfortable with letting some other things go.
Yeah.
More comfortable than I was with him letting things go.
Yeah.
Like, he was not as concerned with grades, even though he has a lot of natural ability, not that concerned with grades. And I'm trying to, hey, you should be concerned with grades. My older son is curious about a lot of things. And that's a strength, but it's also a weakness. That corresponding, that shadow thing is, hey, the focus is a little bit harder.
Isn't it's crazy to think, we want them, and Ed brought this verse up, train up a child in the way they should go,
Uh huh.
and they will not depart from it. And he emphasized the way they should go, not the way we think they should go. The way we want them to go.
Yeah.
I made it there a little bit with my kids and like, no, you need to, say things this way. And we're in this group setting. I want you to speak up and say these things. And I'm kind of force feeding
Mhm.
them a little bit. And
And I've struggled with that a little bit because my older son really wants that input.
he's open to, hey, tell me how I should say this.
And I'm maybe too eager
You're like, yes,
to
I
give it,
got you.
right? And my younger son is event not always in the moment, but he's super reasonable eventually. And but his name is Will, and I prayed that God would give him a strong will for what's right. If you have a strong will for what's right, you probably have a strong will in everything. He has a very strong will,
Yes.
and he has to come to it. I could have been way better about asking questions
Okay.
and not having it like questions like, well, how do you plan to do this? That might have been better than me trying to tell him stuff because I want to tell him what he needs to do.
Mhm.
And yeah, I tactically, I think I could have been way better about just asking questions.
Yes. So when you're creating a campfire as a dad, it's kind of like you're creating the atmosphere of open speaking. And I'm probably very much like you in this way. We have a car ride when we're,
Mm.
I got some one-on-one time with him. It's all right, kind of get your notebook out and got something to teach you,
Yeah,
and you're talking the whole way. And then,
yeah,
so what do you think about that? That's really good, Dad. Can we talk about Pokemon or whatever it is? It's
yeah,
just like
yeah.
off topic. Uh, Thank you so much for sharing what we have today, Steve. I feel like this is one
Well,
of those
you're
things that
kind.
we both love. I think talking about our kids, and
Yeah.
it's a challenge for us. It's a joy. It's probably one of the hardest things
Mm,
that I think any dad would admit they could do
yeah.
is, be in the game and and be present and
Mm.
intentionally lead in this way. So uh, I really appreciate just doing this with you today.
Well, I appreciate your podcast, and I love the title because I love investing
Yes.
and I love real estate. I'm asset class agnostic. I like anything that makes money. I'm pro,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So, but I can remember times where Rebecca and we would catch ourselves, "Oh, we don't have time for this,"
Mhm.
or man, we had a friend go, homeschooling is so inefficient.
Mm.
It's so inefficient. It's efficient for the kids, but it's so inefficient for the moms. And, our attitude was kind of like, what better thing do we have? What better thing do we have to spend time on? And so it will, our kids would probably act out years, maybe do this, and it always feels like it's an inconvenient time, or there's some other high pressure deadline or something else that's coming up. But it's like, no, I actually I have no demand on time that's a better use of my resources or no better way to allocate time than, training up a child in the way you should
Yep.
go,
Yeah.
or
ROI.
something like that. ROI.
And you don't get those years back. And I've
No,
just
you
thinking about
don't.
that more and more recently. Is like we have, because Moses is he's almost 10. It's like we have kind of like 8 more years. Like that's it. And then Sybil is 1, so I'm
Yeah.
just starting with her. But it's like this first 10 kind of went sort of fast. So I gotta make sure we get what we need to the next 8 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But so this is gonna be maybe a little heavier question, but I
Okay.
think it'll be good because it'll cause you to, and me to think as well. So if your sons were sitting here and they're 18 and 20, and there's something that you would hope they would have learned from you, because they're going to be passing on stuff to their kids one day, of course,
Mm,
right?
hmm.
You already talked about your dad and the things that you learned from him.
Yeah.
So what are the things that you hope you have instilled in them that they would say, like, dad taught us this, and I'm proud of them learning this thing?
What would they say?
Yeah, what would they say, or what would you hope they would say in just the efforts that you put out? So I know it's kind of an off
Yeah.
question, but
Yeah.
yeah,
What would
you
I
can
hope
take that
they would
however
say?
you need to.
Okay. I would hope they would say things about like the importance of reading, the importance of having fun, the importance of having games, like feeling loved and like liked. Um, like I love they're like my favorite people.
Yeah.
I remember when my older son went away to college, it took me about 3 months to realize I was kind of sad. I
Yeah.
was like, "I hardly see one of my favorite people."
Yeah.
So I hope they felt like there's some of my favorite people. They might say something about investing or time value of money. I think what would I hope that they would say is something maybe around um, the importance of Christian community and helping you follow Jesus. My parents they weren't just active in attending church; they were really active, always serving at church. And I think sometimes there's this idea of like I'm just sacrificing for Jesus. And so that's why I give money because I'm going to sacrifice for him, and I'm going to serve other people because I'm going to sacrifice for him. And my mom quotes my mom has lost her eyesight, and she quotes this poem by John Milton when he was losing his eyesight. And there's this line in it that says like something along the lines of like, God doesn't need our gifts, our service, right? And it's like God doesn't need our money and God doesn't need our service. He's like everything's easy for him. Like, he doesn't need it. Like our serving and our giving is actually his gift to us. It's not our gift to him. So I had like this we have been involved in church, and it feels like such a small kind of commitment. And every once in a while it feels like, okay, this is hard. It's hard to get there. But it's been just such a huge source of blessing in our lives, with friendships, accountability, getting to exercise gifts that maybe God has given you. It's like a really privilege to get to do something or have an influence on someone's life. That's a massive privilege. Not just getting to hear God's word, although that's super important too, getting to worship. I had this privilege of I taught third and fourth grade boys for I think about 8 or 9 years straight. And when my kids were in high school, each of them helped me for 2 years. So there's a 2 year like, our curriculum took you through the Bible in 2 years. So they gotta be in there with me as I got to kind of teach kind of the whole story of the gospel and God's interactions with human beings. And that was like a huge, huge privilege for me. What would I hope they say? I hope they would say that like, "Hey, like, just know something about God." Like, even like you're trying to give something to God, that's actually God giving something to you.
Yeah.
Like, the gospel is about how generous God is. God has good things for you. He always keeps his promise. He's the giver. He is like worthy of our trust. And it's like there's a bunch of things that you want, and it's actually okay to come to God with this. He's a giver of all good things. And I don't know. I hope that's what they would say, but they might actually say something about you need to invest early and have time for compounding. I don't know
Hey,
because I hit that pretty hard too.
and of course I'm 38, so many years to live here in light of that. But I have been told from older men in my church, it may take a while, and this is a 70-year-old talking, but every now and then they reveal that they were listening. It may be like for their 50 or 40 or whatever it
Yeah.
was, and something stands out. So some of that
Yeah.
return on investment,
Mm,
or what did they learn, may take a while to actually get the fruits of that.
yeah.
But thank you for being in the game as a dad and being an
Thanks,
invested
man.
father. We are we
It's
are
worth it.
definitely.
I don't, there's not, I don't regret any time spent with my kids or,
Yeah, we're in a season of physical struggle, strained sleeping, energy. It's go, go, go. I have a knee brace on. I pulled my back, set up the equipment,
sorry.
falling
I'm
apart.
so sorry.
But my wife, I'm sure, can tell her war stories
Yeah.
of what she's done. But it is, I'll share this too. It was 11:30 at night, maybe even later. But my daughter's crying, and I'm
Mm,
holding her, and I'm pacifying her. As she's falling asleep in my arms, and I was just so thankful for that moment. It's one of those moments where it's like she was sad. She won't remember that moment. That one was for me,
right.
of course. But these it's maybe similar to what you're sharing with
Yeah.
the Lord.
Yeah.
Those sacrifices were the benefit of doing that.
Yeah.
So
Isn't that crazy? We always think like getting loved is the
it,
greatest thing,
yeah,
and it's not. It's loving. It really is. It's the greatest thing. Can I just share one
yeah,
other thing? I remember this from college. One of my friends' dads said, "A lot of men think they come home from work. And he said, you got to change that preposition. You go home to work. And it's a different kind. And if it's like, man, if you want to do what you are supposed to do, that's when you're really free. And so, man, like if you want to hold your daughter, if you want to play with Moses, if you want to draw with Daphne, I mean, that's the greatest thing, right? And another thing is like, parenting is tough. It is a team sport.
Yes.
It is a team sport.
Yes.
And I'm so blessed to have, um, my kid's mom is fantastic. Such a gift.
Huge blessing. Steve, thank you so much.
Thanks, Kenny. It's been fun to talk.
To my
Good to see
dads
you.
out there, stay intentional and enjoy the journey.